Okay. Last time we discussed how uh, style sheets are used to change the appearance of web pages. So in Unit 10, you'll be learning a couple of things. First of all, why these style sheets and its usage, and then use of comments and the syntax of CSS. Then we call selectors, because this, when you want to make the appearance, we discuss how the appearance could be changed, the different options available. And then we will look at how you can use CSS, and there are different ways that you can apply CSS to existing HTML document. And finally, we look at different formattings. First of all, why cascading style sheets, CSS? First of all, it changed the presentation. It changed the presentations of the document in HTML and how these elements could be displayed. Right now, the same document can be, displayed on a screen, or maybe you can print it in other ways. So depending on that, you can, decide how it should be displayed. So basically, we are going to look at how the CSS could change the design, layout, font, and a color of a website. Now, what are the advantages there? The advantages are, right, you don't have to, work on HTML itself, but you can change the style by changing CSS. That means less work, precise type, layout, and more accessible sites, right? So then we discuss about the syntax. Usually you will have a selector. This could be a element. This could be a ID. This could be a class. And then you will have a property value description. We call declaration. There we will have properties and values. Now, for example, H1, we know the header, highest level header we could have in HTML document. And then we are changing the color of the text into blue. And the size of the font is 12 pixels, right? So basically, this will be applied to all H1, HTML tags in a document. Similarly, in this example, you can see we apply color red and text alignment, centered text in color red. We are going to apply to a paragraph. Right. Then we discuss a couple of things, different selectors. You can use element itself like paragraph, or you can have a specific element we call ID selector, right? Maybe you can apply for only for one particular paragraph, right? And also you can have classes which actually use to, use for a specific or set of, elements. And the advantages is sometimes you can have like more than 2 classes applied on one particular level. Right. Then we discuss grouping selectors. Now, for example, if you apply the same style for different tags, for example, here we have H1, H2P, we apply same set, so you can group it. So you can have a same group by comma separating them, then you can apply. So usually we start like this, and once you figure out they are applying the same, then to reduce the size of the CSS, you can make the grouping. In the comments, You can use comments with the slash and star, and then you can end the slash and star. So you can put it as a single line command like this, or you can have it a multi-line command like this. So then we discuss inserting CSS. There are three ways we discussed. First of all, you can create it as a separate file, and then you can attach to the HTML document in the head section. And for example, here, this is how I created a separate CSS style called my style. And then I attach this with the link tag in the head section. Second one, you can have it as an internal style sheets. So internal style sheets, under the style and style, you can have a set of CSS commands like this. And then you can have inline styles, which means like in the tag itself, right? Within that, you can have a style keyword, and within that, you can specify the CSS commands. Now, when you have multiple style sheets, how you can work on the order. So you can actually have external style sheets, internal style sheets as well as inline, right? Then you will need to know like in what order this will be applied. Now, first of all, the priority goes to inline. So that is what is applied. Then it could be external or internal and depend on the order in the section. So whatever comes last will be applied, and then we have the browser default. Right now, this is, I think, where we were. Now, for example, we were discussing how CSS backgrounds were. You can have colors or you can have images. So the property will be the background color, and then you can have a set of colors which we can define with names and also hashtags that I will discuss later on. And then background images, you can put it a background, and then you can specify graphic files. And when you apply this one, we have seen that it will apply to whole background, right? That part we did. Let me start with the example. Right. So last time we discussed a couple of things. Let me share those with you. First of all, right, this is the first one we have applied. There we had my style. So in my style, this is what we had. That is a separate external style sheet. We specify body background color as a light blue. You can see it here. And the color of H1 tag as navy color. And then margin is left is 20 pixels, where we got some spacing here. So how we linked it as an external one, external style sheet. Within the head section, you can see after HTML, we have put it this line. And then when you run it, you will apply this, right? So for example, if I remove this and will run, I will remove for the time being, and let's save, refresh, and here is how it goes, the original one. And when you have, yes, if you save, refresh, yeah, so this is how it goes. So that's the first one that we have discussed. And the second one, again, slightly different one we discuss, how style sheets applied as a within this internal style sheet with the style applied it here, here and here. So you can see head section. So that we are changing background color linen, and then header is to maroon, and then also like some spacing in the beginning. Third one that we have discussed is we have the line inline, which means like within the tag itself, we apply the style, color blue, and margin is 30 pixels. And this is how it goes. Then fourth one, we discussed, right? How do you specify the order of this one? Now, for example, in my style one, if you remember the text color, we put navy, meaning like dark blue, like a color. But here you can see within the inline, this applies after this. So because of that, you know, color changes to orange color, right? So when you have this order is very important. So this is the last one applied. So that goes there. Sorry, in this one, actually color is red because here the first one, and this is the second one, you are changing the color, and this is the third one, right? So if you want to just remind me, if you remove this, you can see. So for the time being, I'll remove. Yes, if you refresh it, now the color will be orange, right? If you remove this, yes, that's the default we apply, right? So when you have the two, okay, that will apply the next one. Then we will have red. Yes. Then it's red color here. Okay. Right. And then we discuss applying images. A couple of things that actually we have discussed there. Now, first of all, we apply this image using right background, and let me cut it here, copy it here. Right now, if you just apply this, okay, so if you just apply this, what happened? Now if you refresh it, you can see it applies everywhere, right? It applies everywhere. So what we discussed there is the apply. We discussed a couple of things. We can say the position of repeat. That means we can say background repeat, no repeat, right? And background repeat, repeat X, repeat Y. That is what we have discussed early, right? So here, for example, we just say background. because we can change this with background. So when you want to say, okay, background image, it's separate. So we can say background image, this is separated. Right? That's how we started early, right? And then when you refresh, it's everywhere. Then we can change the repetition because it's everywhere. We want to say, okay, repeat X only, right? Horizontally, we are going to change. So to change only horizontally, right? You can see what we need to do. We say background repeat, repeat X. Background repeat, repeat X. So we can say, okay, background repeat, repeat X. So once you save and refresh, you can see it's only applied horizontally. Similarly, you can say, okay, repeat Y. Yes, that's applied. Okay, right. And then we discuss, we can say no repeat. Okay, so you don't have to repeat this. So we will say no repeat. We say no repeat. So if you save like that, and if you get this, now this time you will see it is not repeated, right? And it's in the top left corner. Okay, now if you have no repeat, then you can decide where do you want to position this one, right? The positioning, there are a couple of values. The left top, that is the default, left center, left bottom, right top, right center, right bottom, center top, center, center, center bottom. You can put anywhere you want, right? Let's put center, center, right? So we can say, okay, let's have the background position there, right? We have the background position, right? We can say background position, right? Then we will say, okay, center, center. So when you save and we'll refresh, it comes to the middle, right? And then we can say, okay, this should be fixed. That we can say, okay, background attachment should be fixed. Right. And if you're going to have everything together, you don't have to type, separate like this. And this is how we did. You can just say background. We can say, instead of putting everything like this, you can put everything in inline, right? So we can say, okay, background, right? We can specify the values, right? So here the change is actually I have applied some background color as well. So this is the background color. This is the background image. This is the repetition, and this is the position, right? So that's what I think we discussed at the end last time. Okay, right, sounds good. So today let's start with text. So the next one we need to discuss about the text in CSS. Now, one thing that we can do in CSS text is you can apply in different way. First of all, if you start with the color property, you can use the color in multiple different ways, right? And that is where we discuss. So if you look at the code for this one, right? What we discussed here is, first of all, header 1, color blue, and it's aligned to center. So that is what you see here. Second one is this one, that is header 2. Color again blue in using a hashtag using RGB fashion, and we align into right. And the third one, again, color is blue using RGB. And then we have paragraph, we are positioned the justify, right? So those are the two things that we have discussed. Now, text decoration is another thing that we need to discuss, right? So for that, I'm going to use the same one, and I'm going to name it that as page 7, right? And the changes that we are going to discuss it here, we can say, okay, decoration is none. So if you have decoration is none, nothing is there. Actually, this is used when you have a links, right? So let me explain. Now, for example, we will have, right, something like this. So I'm going to have a link. I made it to a link here. So I'm going to say a href equals, okay, here is a link. And then we say visit our page, right? Okay, so now I'm going to save this. And if you refresh it, right, you can see this is a link. So now, if you want to remove this underline, sometimes it's not visually appealing if you have an underline there. So what you can is you can remove this one by saying, okay, so I will put anchor A, I will apply it for this anchor, right? And with that, I will say, okay, text decoration none. If you say this, and if you refresh it, you see now still it's a link, but the underline is not there. You remove the text decoration. So you can change the property text transform to change how it look like, right? For example, I can use it here H1 to say, okay, I want to transform to uppercase. So H1, I will put like this, text transform. I will say uppercase. Right, let me save this. Now you can see here how it look like. And when you refresh it, I missed the S here, so uppercase. So let me save it again. Yes, now this is look like, let's refresh it. Okay, sorry, I applied it to the second line. Yeah. I will make it to the first line. Huh? So I will apply it to the first line. Yes, text transform. Okay. And let's save it. When you refresh, you can see it's in capital now. Text transform uppercase. Similarly here, if the first character is capitalize, we call. So we'll make it to uppercase. So we can say, okay, text transform, lowercase. So that is there. Let's save it. Now, when you have that, everything is in lowercase. Third one, we will have like it, visit our page. These are simple letters. So if you want to change this, we will have text transform. We can say capitalize, right? And you can save it. So once you save, you can see when you refresh it, okay, now the first, each word, the first letter is capitalized, right? Capitalization. So we need to discuss about the fonts in CSS. So there are two types of fonts, sans serif fonts and serif fonts. So sans serif means the serifs are in red color. You can see these. You don't have this. Usually we will use this for, headers, right? The large fonts. So usually in presentations, we prefer this font. Whereas if you want to use it for writing text, right, we will use serif fonts. So some examples, serif fonts times Roman, you can see this Roman, Georgia, and so on. Where sans serif is like Arial, rather than so these are normally used for presentations and so on. There are some other fonts are available like monospace, which means the characters have same spacing. You can see, for example, console is used to represent commands in different languages, right? So those are the fonts that we will use, right? So we should know how we can use them in a CSS document, right? So what we are going to discuss is how we can apply the fonts. So we discussed there are a couple of fonts available. And if you want to change the shape of the font, then you can use the font family property. So let's start by defining a property. So I'm going to create a new page. So page number 8, right? So in this one, now I'm going to get the file first. This is page number 8. Now let's try to change some of these fonts, right? So for example, if you want to change the font of something, you can say, okay, font family, right? So first one, I can say, okay, font family, and then you can say, okay, whatever the font name, Times New Roman, and then we have a semicolon, right? So now you can save this. Let's look at how it might change, right? You don't see the change much because this could be the default value. So let's change it to something else, right? Now, if you want to know like what kind of fonts you can use Word, for example, and then you can select, whatever the, fonts available in your system, right? Now, for example, in our case, right? We'll have welcome to CSS, right? And then, so this is the default, and then let's uppercase this. Let me capitalize uppercase. Let's change the size a bit. Okay, this is how it should look like if you use Calibri. So I'm going to change this to Calibri now. Right. I'm going to save as. Now I'm going to refresh. You can see now it has changed, right? Now this is sans serif font. Sans serif means like you don't have any curls at the ends. Similarly, let me choose another font from here. Right, something like, okay. So let me copy paste this one. And then let's look at, okay, something like this. Okay, it's called Kaolini, right? So let me change. Okay, I'll copy this one and then maybe change the second one. I'm going to say Kaolini, right? So let me save. Right, when I'm refreshing, yes, I'll save. So that font looks not available. Let me try another one. Font family. I'm just trying to remove this and see whether we could use it. Spellings looks good. I don't see any change of fonts. Let's take some generic font. That will be easier then. So let's, how about Arial? Okay, this should work. So that we can put under Arial black. Should work. Yep. You can see the font has changed. So now you can see, you can change how the appearance of the fonts and how we could, change that. You can change the font style. We can say normal, italic, and oblique, usually for italic text. For bold text, we can say font weight bold. That's how we used to, have this. Okay, right. Now, for example, if I take like this, right, and we have a paragraph here, and then let's take, for example, style. And then I can say, okay, font style, right? I will say, okay, normal. So let me save this as page 9. I'm going to save it, right? And then when I take this 9 page, looks like this, right? Then I'm going to change this to italic. Now I'm going to change the italic. I'm saving it, refresh. So you can see that now it has changed to italic. Next, I'm going to change it to oblique. So it looks the same, right? So basically what you need to remember is this style will give you similar font style. Now, similarly, let me take another paragraph, right? And in this paragraph, let me say, same paragraph twice. And I'm going to say weight bold. Let me share the screen. I got a power. So this one, I'm going to say font weight this time. I'm going to say bold. Let me refresh it. And then when I get this, so it looks like this. So I'm going to change this. The second one, you see, first one, it's italic. The second one, font weight bold. It's bolded text, right? So I will share the code again. Right, you can see the change. Another thing that you have to familiar with is like the font sizes. Now, when you have font sizes, usually in your case, you can have pixels, but the size EM means relative to the font size. ඒ කියන්නේ පොතේ දැන් අපි pixel එක කියන එක දානකොට font size එක ක්‍රම දෙකකට දෙන්න පුළුවන්. එකක් තමයි ඒක pixel වලින් කොච්චරක්ද කියන එක. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපිට දෙන්න පුළුවන් දැනට තියෙන font size එකෙන් 2.5ක ගුණයක්. මම මේකට එක කියන relative size කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි කිව්වොත් 1em කියලා. ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් තියෙන font size එක. ඒක ලොකු කරන්න පුළුවන් ඒ font එකේ ප්‍රමාණයට අදාළ. හරි. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් අපි ගත්තොත් browser එකක තියෙන text size එක අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් කියන්නේ pixel 16ක් කියලා. එතකොට අපි දල වශයෙන් ගත්තොත් 1em කියන්නේ 16ක් pixel. මේවත් මම කිව්වේ පුතා ඇත්තරම්ම දැනගත යුතු නැහැ කියන එක. ඇත්තටම කියනවා මෙතන මේ 40 pixel කියන එකයි 2.5em කියන්නේ දෙක එකයි. right. ඒ font size එක change කරලා බලන්න මම ඒක වෙනම කතා කරන්න යන්නේ. හැබැයි මම ටිකක් ටක් ගාලා demonstrate කරොත් මගේ second paragraph එකට මම යන්න. ඒ second paragraph එකේ font weight එක bold කියලා දාලා තියෙනවා. semicolon එකක් දාලා මම කියනවා font size 40 pixel කියලා. එතකොට මම මේක save කරොත් refresh කරොත් පුතාට පේනවා ඇති මේ ලොකු fonts වලින් අපිට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. Right? Try this and then let me know. Let's discuss a little bit about the colors used in CSS. Now, colors could be used in multiple ways. Now, we discussed colors could be used as a background color. And for example, in here, in H1 tag, we are changing the background color to this Dodger blue. That means the color by name. So now we know we can apply color by name. Right? Then you can apply colors to text like color. Now, when you say background color, it's a background. When you say color, it's a text color. So even for a paragraph, we can apply, right? Now, let me show you. I'm going to get the code. I'm going to save it as, okay, page number 10. So under page number 10, what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to add here font style italic. I will say, okay, background color, background color. I will say tomato, right? So that means the coloring name as a name, right? Then for the text color, now let me save this, right? Let me refresh, otherwise you don't see the difference. So this is my page number 10. Right? You can see background color, now it's tomato. Right? Now let me change the color as well. So I'm going to change color, that means the text color. So I'm going to say text color, right? Say Dodger blue. Right? If you're wondering how these names came, you don't have to remember. It is given. Or let me put just blue. Yeah, you can see it's at blue. Right? And then you can have change the border color, but in your case, you don't, we don't talk about the borders in your level. And then we can have color values. Two ways we can use. I already showed you using RGB values and using hash codes, right? Okay. Now, these are some of the color names. So there are a lot of colors are defined. Right. Now here, what I want to show you is the color name and respective color values here, right? So you don't have to remember all these names. You can refer some. I have given a link where I have found this. And then using this, you can take any color you want. Just change the color name, or you can give it the hex name, right? So for example, if you want to find the color, then you can use something like a paint. Now, if you want, let's say you need to take like particular, color. So take paint, for example, and in paint, you can define colors. If you go here, you can find the colors. When you click it somewhere, right, you might get the color which you want, right? So I'm going to change the color, put in this. So for example, if I want to apply this color, I can use this one. So for example, I will click copy paste, right? And then I will go to my file, right? And then let me say, I'm going to say, okay, color, and I'll put this value, right? So now I'm going to save this. And if you look at my page right now, it looks like this. But the color I selected this one. So when I refresh it, now you can see that color is applied to my font, right? Similarly, now since you know RGB values, you can use RGB values, but I'm not going to discuss that. For your case, you don't need to, memorize these things. So I'm going to ignore that. In CSS links, we can use different states. States means in a link, if you just have the link, it's we call normal unvisited link. Visited means you have already clicked that link. Hover means like you are, go over it, right? And active means the moment it is clicked. So these are like different states, and different depending on different state, we can change how it looks. So let me explain using a couple of examples. Now, the first one, I'm going to take a new page. So let me take the same one. I'm going to change it. So this is page number 11, right? And then I'm going to remove most of these, styles so that it will be clear for us what exactly we are doing. So the first one, we have 2 paragraphs, right? And then we have a link here. Now let me show you how this affects to the link. So let me save first, and then let me show you how it looks. So that is what we need is a page number 11. So looks like this. It's clear, right? Right now we have done one change. When you go to link, we said decoration is none, right? Now I'm going to change the slightly. Now I'm going to say change is none, right? Whenever you, for example, in a link or visitor, right? Let me show you how it works. So this is what I have. We will say different states, not A. We will say A link. We can say link, and let's say A visitor. So what I'm saying here, when you unvisit, when you're not clicked, then you are not there. Link and visitor, link and visitor. We say text decoration none. See what will happen. Right now I have changed this, so I'm going to save. Right now, let me refresh this. Now, when you're refreshing, it looks like this, but when you go here, okay, I have to write the other two. Okay, so let me say other two as well, otherwise it will not work. So now I want to say, okay, when it's over, meaning you go over it, or when you're active, that means when you're clicking it, what you want to do, right? So that we will say, okay, underline, right? We are going to say, by that time you should show us underline. So I'm going to say here, text decoration underline. Right. So let me save and let me show you what happens. Now, when I go here, and if you take this, let me refresh it. Now, if you just look at it, that means link state, right? No decoration. But when you go top over means like you can see now, you can see the underline. When you go over it, When you go over it only, you see the underline. Okay. And when you try to click it also, right, it will show you the same. Right. So the link should be start with the HTTP // So let me save. Right. Let me refresh. When you click visited, yeah, you go to the website. Right. Okay. Can you try this first?
Okay, sir.
This is under the same links. Right. The change of colors. Now, for example, I'm going to have changing colors here. For example, right now there's no change of colors, right? No change of colors. So the before visit, I will put a different color. So a link means unvisited. That's what we discussed. And I'm going to say, okay, the color should be red. That is you before you visit today, before you visit. So I put in the same link line here, right? Let me save. Let me close this open from the beginning so that you can observe the change. Right? So this is already visible, right? Right. Okay. So when you visited, we can see visited color green. So now we have already visited. So when you refresh, you should see in green color. Yes, you can see in green color, right? And when you go over top, it should say in pink color. We will say hot pink. You will see what hot pink is, right? Now it's in green color because we have already visited this one. But when you go top, you can see now it has changed to pink color, right? And we can change the color when we click the link. We call it active. Now I'm going to say the color should be blue, right? So when I say blue, when you click, I don't know whether you can see, when you click it, yeah, you see it's a blue color, right? So visited one is green, already visited, that's why green. When you go over top, it will be pink. When you click, it will be blue, right? So I have explained everything. In the exam point of view,